Hi there! Mike McArthur here from the Oshkosh Public Library, and here for some more Librarian Learns. This is a series where I take a look at a piece of local Oshkosh history that has caught my fancy, and today we're going to take a look at a real special one. We're going to look at the community-built playground that was Little Oshkosh. Little Oshkosh got its start at a recreation convention in 1993 that was being attended by future Parks Director Tom Stefany. He went to a panel discussing community-built parks, and he was really looking to get one done in his town of Baraboo at the time. But it never quite happened, but the idea stuck with him, and it was still with him when he was hired by Oshkosh in 1995. The idea did not start becoming a reality until Tom Stefany met Jeff Thorkildsen. Jeff was a Southwest Rotary member, and the Rotary Society there was looking for a big project to kind of back. At that point, Tom remembered the idea of a community-built playground. Tom was also probably thinking about the fact that a recent audit of the playgrounds in Oshkosh revealed that the one themed playground that Oshkosh had, the Sea, Sand, and Sailor Land, which was located at the entrance of Menominee Park at the cross streets of East Irving and Hazel, was in desperate need of repair and replacement. For those of you who didn't have children in the 80s, the Sea, Sand, and Sailor Land was built in 1982 and had a nautical theme, and they buried a bunch of old, kind of restored wooden boats in the park. And it really was well loved and captured the imagination, but those Wisconsin winters take a toll on boats, so it was in desperate need of replacement. So Stefany suggested the community-built playground. Thorkildsen presented the idea and plan to the Rotary Society, who donated the first $15,000 to get fundraising started for what ultimately would be about a $250,000 project. The playground company of Leathers and Associates was selected to guide the community playground project. They were based in New York and were a big name in playground building in the 80s and 90s, having at this point in 1997 built about 1,200 parks across the country. They were known for creative designs that captured the imagination and for big community-built playgrounds. And Oshkosh would turn out to be one of the biggest they had done at that time. A steering committee of about 75 community members guided this project, which in the end got over 1,000 donations from individuals, businesses, corporations, companies during the 9-month planning process. There was even a Name the Park, I keep saying park, it's not a park, it's a playground. There was even a Name the Playground contest that was run in the local schools. Ultimately, 2 winners were selected. One, Little Oshkosh, which was submitted by the Jeff Hackbarth family, whose family attended Sacred Heart School, and the subtitle Where Dreams Come True, submitted by 2nd grader Kevin Kropp from Emmeline Cook Elementary. The building process took place on May 28th through June 9th, 1997, and it was a massive undertaking involving hundreds of volunteers. So the way it worked, from my understanding, is that Leathers and Associates provided the kind of technical expertise and the designs of the park, and the community really showed up and volunteered to physically build the park. And boy, did Oshkosh show up to build this park. Companies, community organizations, businesses, restaurants all donated. It was a massive effort to feed this army of volunteers that was showed up every day to build the park. But it really seemed like any time the project needed someone or asked for something, they got it. Towards the end, Leathers and Associates brought in Tom Rockwell, the grandson of famous American illustrator Norman Rockwell, to kind of guide the final artistic touches. A group of students from Roosevelt and Oakwood schools buried a time capsule under the playground. The park opened in June of 1997, and it led to 20 years of wonderful memories. It was sprawling, it was inventive, it was filled with art and images of Oshkosh and Wisconsin. It really was kind of, I could see, a magical place, particularly in the beginning when everything was fresh and new. By about 2015, 2016, it started becoming clear that Little Oshkosh's time was coming to an end. It was noted in the press that Playgrounds are generally phased out and worn out after about 15 or 20 years, and those Wisconsin winters did a number on the mostly wooden structure. It was also noted that many of the building materials used to build the original structure were unattainable these days and also not approved for playground construction anymore. Also, a lot of building codes and standards for playgrounds had changed since the 90s when Little Oshkosh was originally designed. And this is really a unique challenge to most playgrounds built in the 80s, 90s. Lots of cities have to choose between high maintenance or renovation costs or simply tearing down a beloved playground. Some are able to make it work, but most get replaced. Around this time, the Rotary, much like it did in the late 90s, tried to get some community-based fundraising go to get the park modernized and replaced. They held Rib Fest and raised about $20,000 in donations. But this kind of petered out a little bit, and it really seemed like the idea of a community-built park is just harder to do today. In a 2015 interview, Mark Leather, the current president of Playground by Leathers, noted that playground industry is just more regulated and filled with political red tape than it used to be, which makes doing community-built projects harder. In 2019, the Oshkosh Common Council unanimously voted to approve funding of a new modernized park to replace Little Oshkosh. The new one, built and designed by Lee Recreation, was completed in the spring of 2020, just in time for a global pandemic to shut down every single park in the country. But the parks opened up again eventually, and children and families once again got to enjoy Little Oshkosh, albeit a new one. So here I am in front of, the new Little Oshkosh playground in Menominee Park. There's a whole lot of nostalgia for the old Little Oshkosh. It was this, fantastic playground that captured the imagination. I think a lot of people do like the new one that opened in 2020. It's fun, and my kids love it when they come here. If you were going to level a criticism at it, it would probably be that it is a little homogenous. It looks like the parks everywhere because that's just the style of the parks that are built these days. But it still is fun, and I think most people come really like it. But there was something special about the original Little Oshkosh as a monument for a community coming together to build something and create something kind of a little magical. And I love that they left some vestiges of it, like, again, the entryway behind me here, and also the kind of structure that marked all of the donors and participants and people who helped plan and create the original Little Oshkosh. It is really quite impressive to see all the names on the signs behind me who contributed, who helped and gave their time, resources, money to create the Little Oshkosh playground. I mean, this was a big deal to some people. I've seen, people's obituaries that listed building Little Oshkosh as one of the defining moments of their lives. Like, that's how big and important it was to a lot of people. So hey, I learned something. If you like these videos, want to see more, hit like, hit subscribe, share on Facebook. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.